Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to my quick and easy series of tutorials. Today we're going to make a gorgeous cosmic celestial necklace with a very long drop in the center, and I'm going to be using all kinds of different beads, which is what makes this necklace unique. Having said that, it's a very easy necklace to make, and we're going to be using the beads that came in Sam's Bead Box for the month of October 2023. And we're also going to make a matching pair of earrings. So if this is something you're interested in, keep watching and let's get started. And here we have Sam's Bead Box for the month of October. The name of this box is Colors of the Cosmos. This was such an amazing collection. Sam and Rachel really used their imagination putting this box together. If you like cosmic or celestial themed jewelry, then this is the box for you. Now, if you missed out on getting this box, you could try going to the website to see if they have any extras. Sometimes they do have leftover boxes. Of course, the price is a little higher than the subscription. In any case, if you really want these beads, I recommend you go to Sam's Bead Shop. I'll leave some information and a link to the website down below in the description section of this video. But anyways, you can see the palette was deep blues, jet black tones, golden and orange tones. In addition, it contained a gorgeous jasper pendant and a carnelian pendant as well. But what I really loved were the flashy coatings on some of the beads. They were absolutely mesmerizing. And I wish I could use all of the beads in this design, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to. In any case, the beads that I selected are gorgeous, and I can't wait to show you how to make this necklace and earring set. So let me show you the beads we're going to be using. Here are the beads we're going to be using today, and please ignore the clips. Obviously, I've already been into these strands. I had to remove some beads in order to play with them and come up with the design. And by the way, there are a couple of beads missing from these strands. I have them on a different project. But let me go ahead and go over the sizes with you. Let me show you these. These are 5 polished rondelles and they're check glass beads. And by the way, all of these are check glass beads. These rondelles measure 5 by 7 millimeters, and the color of the glass is Capri Sapphire, but then it has a gold coating on the surface. These are so gorgeous, guys. And they are blue, but it's very dark, so it's difficult to see. Let me shine a light behind it. I'll use my spare iPhone. I don't know if you guys can see that blue. It's really pretty. And let me show you these. These are 5 polished rounds, and the color of the glass is orange amber, but then it has a blue iris coating on the surface. Look at that. I just love that blue. It's not on the whole bead, it's only on a portion of the bead. Very pretty. And these measure 6 millimeters in size. Let me show you these stars. These are called puff stars. The color is jet black, but then it has a distressed gold and silver effect. I really love that effect. And these stars measure 6 millimeters in size as well. Now these larger beads have the same effect. These are 8 millimeters in size, but as you can see, they have the exact same finish, the distressed gold and silver effect. Very pretty, aren't they? And let me show you these. These are Baroque cut beads. The color is Cosmic Eclipse Mix, and these measure 9 millimeters in size. I really love these. I love the earth tones. Plus they match those orange beads. Now when I first saw this one, I thought it was very unique as well. Look how different it is. It's very different. These are called Carved Teardrops, and the color is jet black with some kind of silver metallic wash. Very, very unique. And these measure 11 by 13 millimeters. And then we have this moon. I love this moon. It measures 13 millimeters across, and the color is cobalt with a platinum wash. Let me show you what it looks like with a light behind it. Look how vibrant that blue is, isn't it? I really love that. And then we have these beads here. I really like these as well. They're called crescent moons, and the color is stardust gold. And these measure 6.5 by 13.5 millimeters. Let me show you what else we're going to be using. I have some craft wire and some chain, and this chain is in a gunmetal color. And I think the links measure about 2 millimeters. They're very small, but we're not going to be using a whole lot of it. And here I have some craft wire. This one's in a gunmetal color as well, and it's 20 gauge. I'm not picky about the brand. Any brand will do. In addition to these items, we're going to be using some jump rings, a lobster clasp, and some head pins, but I'll pull those out later on when we get ready to use them. So now that we've gone over the materials, let's go ahead and get started. Well, I did forget one bead. I'm going to be using one of these brios. As you can see, we received a total of 8, but I think I'll be using this one right here because it has that beautiful golden color and I love it. And these brios measure 6 by 9 millimeters. I'm going to be using it at the bottom of the long drop. So now let me get the beads for the long drop. We're going to work on that first. Here are the beads I'm going to be using for the focal part of the necklace. Like I said, it's going to be a long drop. And guys, after many renditions, I finally came up with this configuration. It wasn't easy, and I don't know why, because there's nothing difficult about this project, but I was having a hard time deciding which beads to use. I tried all kinds of configurations, arranged the beads the best way I could, and then rearranged them because I changed my mind, swapped out pendants, and I just wasn't feeling happy with any of the choices that I was making. It's not that they were bad, it was more that the designs weren't speaking to me for some reason. And I think part of the problem is that I wanted to make a minimalist type necklace or a simpler design. One thing I was certain of was that I wanted something that had a variety of beads and not just the same type of bead. So anyway, as you can see, I have the brio drop at the bottom, and then above that is the carved teardrop bead. Above that is the moon face bead, and then I have these 2 crescent moon beads with a rondelle in the middle. I'm going to have all 3 on one piece of wire, and then above that is the broke cut bead. So let's go ahead and start with the brio drop. I cut myself a 3-inch piece of 20 gauge wire. I'm going to feed it through the bead, and I'm going to slide the bead all the way to the right, leaving about 3/4 of an inch of wire on this end. And now with some pliers, I'm going to grab it and kink it. And I'm going to do the same thing on this end, just to get it going. And now I'm going to go ahead and cross these wires like this. Something like that. I'm going to grab this one and kink it upward. And this one's already off to the side, so I'm not going to worry about that one. And now I'm going to create some wraps. So I'm going to grab these 2 pieces right to the left of where they intersect. And now I'm going to grab this tail and do some wraps. I think I'm just going to do 2. And now I need to cut off the excess. I'm using flush cutters for that. Tuck in that little end. So this is what we have so far. And since this wire is so thick, what I'm going to do now is a simple loop with this piece. So let me kink it this way. I'm going to grab the end with my round nose pliers and form a loop. Make sure you close it really well, and that's what you should have. So this one's done. Now for these, I'm going to do simple loops on all of them. I like to work with a long piece of wire whenever I'm working with beads of different sizes. Using flat nose pliers, I'm going to kink the end, leaving about 3/8 of an inch, something like that. And now with round nose pliers, I'm going to grab it. Make sure that it's flush. You don't want it sticking out of that end. And now form a loop. You want to make sure your loop is closed, and you want to make sure that it's centered. So now let me feed it through this bead. Same thing, I'm going to grab the end, line up the bottom loop, kink it, snip off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end with round nose pliers, make sure it's flush, and form a loop. And now let me check the alignment of my loops. I think they're lined up, but I always do this anyway, just to make sure. So this one's done. Let me do this next one, but I'm going to speed up the film because it's the same exact process. Now I do want to show you how to do this one. I have another piece of wire here, and it's the same thing. I'm going to grab it with my flat nose pliers, kink it at 3/8 of an inch, grab it with my round nose pliers, form a loop, I'm going to feed this one on first, this way, and then the rondelle, and then this other one, this way. Just like that. Once again, I'm going to grab the wire, line up the bottom loop, kink it, snip off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch, grab it with my round nose pliers, form a loop, line up my loops, and that's what this one looks like. I think it looks really cute. So now we just have this one to do. So now that they're all done, I'm going to go ahead and link them, and that's super easy. I'm going to grab this one first, open up this loop, slide this component into it, close it, and now I'm going to open this one, slide the next one in, and close it. So this part's done, and that was super easy. So now let's move on to the strands. Here are the beads for the strands. As you can see, I have my Druck rounds. Like I said before, they're 8mm in size. I have some more rondelles. They're 5x7mm. And then I have my 5 polished rounds, and they're 6mm. And by the way, guys, all of these measurements are going to be down in the description section of this video in the list of materials. So basically, I'm doing the same thing that I did for the drop. I'm going to do simple loops for all of these, and I'm using the same 20 gauge wire. And I don't know how many I'm going to use at this time, but I want my necklace to be somewhere in the vicinity of 17 inches, and that's not counting the drop. Obviously, you can make yours as long as you want to. It's totally up to you. And once again, as you can see, I have a long piece of wire because I have beads of different sizes. So instead of cutting a whole bunch of pieces of the same length, I'd rather do it like this. That way I don't waste wire. But let me go ahead and do one more with you, and then I'll speed up the film. Same thing, I'm going to grab it at 3/8 of an inch down, kink it. Using round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end, make sure it's flush, loop it. Make sure your loop is centered and closed. Grab a bead, slide it onto the wire. Grab this end, line up the bottom loop, kink it, snip off the excess. Grab the end with my round nose pliers, form a loop, and close it. And now let me line up my loops. So the only difficult part about this, if you're a beginner, is figuring out how big you want your loops and figuring out what part of the barrel you want to put your wire on. That's really the most difficult part. All I can say, guys, is that you need to get familiar with your pliers. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Now, I did do a segment in one of my previous videos, how to make consistent loops. So what I can do is link that video down below, along with a timeline, so you can skip directly to that part of the video. But anyway, I'm going to keep making beaded components, and then I'll link them, forming 2 strands. Each strand will be approximately 8 inches long, because you need to remember that the clasp and the jump rings are going to add to the overall length. And let me show you how I'm going to arrange the beads. I'm basically going to line them up like this. So I have the 8mm bead, and then the rondelle, and then the 5 polished bead. And then I'm going to keep repeating it until I get the length that I want. That's basically all I'm going to do. Pretty simple. But you'll see after I come back exactly what I did. And maybe you can take a screenshot at that time. So let me speed up the film and I'll continue working on these beads. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I built one strand and there's a total of 13 components. I have 5 of the orange 6mm beads, 4 of the 8mm beads, and another 4 of the rondelles. And I'm glad that I started and ended with the same bead. I like to use smaller beads by the clasp. So let me show you how long it is. It's not quite 8 inches, but that's fine for me. So now to save time, I'm going to build another one just like this one off camera, and I'll be right back. As you can see, I've completed both strands. And here's my drop. So if you want to take a screenshot, now would be a good time to do it. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, guys, are the way the loops are facing. It's not that important for the strands, but it's going to be important for the drop because you want that brio to be facing front. In other words, you don't want it to hang sideways like this. So you want to make sure that the loops are facing the correct way so everything hangs properly. So you may have to change the orientation of this loop here. Instead of having it be perpendicular to the mat or vertical, you may have to turn it so it's parallel to the mat. But it all depends on what kinds of beads you use, how many you use, how many components you have. All those factors come into effect. So now we're going to connect everything, and I'm going to use a 6mm jump ring. And that's very simple. Let me open it up. Let me connect the strand first, and then the drop, and now the other strand. Close up my jump ring. And now I'm going to attach a clasp. I have 2 6mm jump rings, and they're both in a gunmetal color, and so is this one, by the way. Let me open one up. And this necklace does have a front and a back, so you need to check it to figure out where to connect it. And I'm talking about the clasp. I think this is the right side. If you're right-handed, it's a good idea to attach the clasp on the right side. And now I'm going to attach this one on this side. I always have a hard time displaying necklaces that have such long drops. But once we get done, I'll arrange everything nicely on the mat. So now you don't have to connect anything else. You can just stop right here. But I'm going to embellish this necklace a little bit to make it a little bit more unique because I want to use the star beads. So what I'm going to do is hang a swag on one side only. And I cut myself a small piece of chain. It measures about 3 inches or so, maybe 3 1/4. And what I was thinking about doing is to connect it to the jump ring like this. Keeps wanting to stick to my pliers. And then the other end can connect to one of these components. Something like that. I know it doesn't look very nice right now, but it will once it's connected. And then I'm also going to hang a couple little dangles there using the star beads. Like I said, guys, this is completely optional. I know some of you don't like asymmetrical designs, but since this necklace is so unique, I couldn't resist it. And plus you can always remove it if you decide you don't like it. So here I have a couple of stars. And I'm going to hang them off chain. Something like that. But before I connect this swag, I need to prepare these stars. So let me move this off to the side for the time being. Here's my chain. As you can see, it's on the spool. This is the easiest way to do it, guys. You don't want to cut your chain pieces before attaching the beads. I have 2 flat head pins. They're 22 gauge and they measure about 1.5 inches. Let me show you how to do this. I'm going to slide the bead onto the head pin. Let me see where the hole is. I think it's over here somewhere. There it is. And now I'm going to do a wrap loop. So I'm going to grab the pin right where the bead is, kink it, switch to this part of the pliers, wrap the tail around the nose of the pliers, flip the pliers around, continue to wrap to the back. Let me open up that loop a little bit. And now we're going to attach it to the chain. So I'm going to slide the last link of the chain into the loop that I just created. Like this. Let me move this off to the side. And now using these pliers, I'm going to grab the loop. I like to use these pliers because they have a very skinny tip. And now with another set, I'm going to grab the tail and do a couple of wraps. I'm going to snip off the excess. Tuck in the little sharp end. So now that it's attached, we can go ahead and cut our chain. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I think I'm going to cut right here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let me just grab it. So that's what we have. Let me see how much it measures. I would say the chain measures approximately 1 inch, maybe a little bit more. Now the second dangle is going to be shorter. Let me get my chain. So now I have to figure out where to cut the chain. And like I said, I want this one to be shorter. I think something like this looks about right. Maybe a little bit shorter. I changed my mind. I'm going to move it down a little bit. That's good enough. So that piece of chain is going to be about, I would say, 3/8 of an inch, something like that. So I need to cut it right here. So now let's connect everything. I have 2 4mm jump rings right there. And of course you have to figure out what side of the necklace you want the dangles to hang. I think I want mine there. And before I connect the swag, I'm going to check these loops. The reason is that you want the chain to be connected on a loop that's parallel to your mat. Otherwise it's going to fight you constantly. So let's take a look. The jump ring is parallel. These are vertical, these are parallel, these are vertical, and these are parallel. So I'm going to connect it to this loop right here. So let me do that. I'll connect the swag to this side first. And I'm glad that these jump rings are tiny because these links are very small. There it is. Once again, you want to make sure that you connect it on the correct side of that jump ring. Let me just check the loops. This is important, guys, if you want things to hang properly. This looks like the correct side. And let me close up the jump ring. You definitely want to close this one because you wouldn't want that chain to slide through the gap of a jump ring. And once again, you want to make sure your loops are oriented properly before you connect anything. So let me go ahead and connect the dangles. I'm going to slide the long one on first. It really doesn't matter which one first. And then the short one. Just like that. Maybe I'll flip it around. I'll have the short one to the right and the long one to the left. And now the swag. Let me see if I can grab it properly. There it is. So this one's vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. And now I just need to close that jump ring. Make sure it's completely closed. That looks about right. And that's what it looks like. It was a little bit fiddly. So if you don't like fiddly, you may not want to do this. But I think it adds a special touch to the necklace. And I am going to model it at the end of this video. So now we're going to make a quick pair of earrings. Let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for the earrings. As you can see, I've already made one. I'm using an 8mm round, 2 of the crescent moons, and a rondelle in the middle, just like the necklace. Plus I have 2 dangles. I have a star on one of them and the 6mm fire polished on the other one. I've already prepared 2 of them. Since I already showed you how to do that, I didn't think I'd have to show you again. And by the way, I always use stainless steel ear wire hooks, even if the rest of the jewelry is a different color. I just think stainless steel is the safest way to go. A lot of people are allergic to different metals. Of course, you could pay a little extra and use 18 karat gold plated, but some people are even allergic to that. So let's go ahead and assemble this earring. I have a piece of wire and it's 20 gauge. It measures about 2 inches or so. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create some simple loops. And now I'm going to load this bead, and then the crescent moon, and then the rondelle, and the other crescent moon, just like that. I'm going to grab the wire right where the bead is, line up the bottom loop, kink it, snip off the excess, leaving about 3/8 of an inch. Grab it with my round nose pliers and form a loop. I want to make sure my loops are level, and it looks like they are. Let me open up this loop now. Slide on one of these dangles. And now the other one. Close up the loop. So there's my earring. I think it's super cute. These 3 beads kind of remind me of an eye for some reason. Let me open up this loop. Slide on the ear wire hook and close it up. So I want to show you something, guys. When you're wearing your earring, you want to make sure that the bottom loop is facing the front. That's what I recommend. I mean, you don't have to, but that's what I recommend. And the other thing I recommend is that you mirror the dangles. In other words, you want to have the 2 long ones on the outside and the 2 short ones on the inside, or vice versa. So now I'd like to go ahead and assemble everything on my workspace so you can see the whole thing. So let me get the necklace. So here's the finished necklace and earring set. And I know you can't see the whole thing, but don't worry, because I'll slide my mat up and down in a few moments. But anyway, I did make a little change to the swag. I snipped off a segment to make it a little bit shorter. Sometimes you can't tell until you put it on. And I did take it to the mirror. That's when I realized I needed to shorten it a little bit. But anyway, guys, I hope you like this necklace and the earrings. I think it's very unique. It's definitely an attention getter. Let me slide the mat down so you can see the top of the necklace. There's the top. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I'd love to hear what you think about this necklace and earring set. If you could leave some comments down below, I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and put the necklace on now and show you what it looks like. So I'll see you in a few moments.